Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. So, it is really good to jump on really fast. So, I want to come and chat with y'all about something. So, you all know we have the Stress to Secured 3-day wellness challenge for Black women who are the few or only one in the room. At this stage in life, y'all, you know when someone isn't aligned with you and may not even like you. It can be in your family, it could be on your job, it can be in your community, it can even be in your relationship. I'm very, very passionate about addressing this topic, adding a humanistic lens to it, because as a Black woman, that has been most of my career, being of the few or the only one in many of the rooms I frequent. And it can get so lonely. And I know I'm not alone, but it has taken me all these years to learn how to maximize that position of being that person in that room. For so long, I carried the weight that I had to be all things to everyone, be everywhere for everyone. But at the end of the day, no one helped me carry that stress burden, that burden of code switching, that burden of shifting who I was to fit in those spaces. So many times, that position of, when it's not aligned or when you're not even liked, it is illuminated if you are that few or the only one. It's like magnified. You feel it, you feel the pressure from it. But let's talk about that room. Okay. Because the room carries a lot of conversation. The room carries a lot of weight. If I was a fly on the wall in some of these rooms, I imagine what I would hear. I can imagine what I would see, what I would witness, what I would feel, the level of empathy I would have for you if you are that person. This room that we're talking about, it requires a lot of energy and effort to show up, first of all, probably even get out of bed to prepare to show up, to exist there. It takes a lot of energy and effort to speak up and elevate your voice, because many times we lower our voices. We don't contribute, maybe due to experiencing some microaggressions or not having what we've shared be respected. And you can paint the picture of this room, who might be in there. So, one or few or the only one, I'm here to shed a lot of reality to. It's not just when we're in rooms with folks that don't look like us. Sometimes, oftentimes, there are people that look like us culturally, racially, and every other similarity we may have to those people. But I'm here to remind you, you still can be one of you or the only one, even if those people look like you, sound like you, and come from where you come from. This is why it's important that we identify active allies and accomplice when we know we have to occupy those spaces. It is dangerous to do this alone, to be there alone, to hold all of that weight alone. Let's reverse that of feeling like you have to do it alone. I get it. Some rooms may be private, so other people may not be able to be invited. But who in that room can you create that alliance with? Who in that room can you share your experiences with? Because we bring that stuff home, we bring that stuff to our safe haven. But here's the thing, if you're one, if you are the only one at home, your community, at church, you get to define what that identity is, one of you or the only one. My personal story, I've never had a Black clinical supervisor. I have never had a Black supervisor or manager. Many places I frequent, I've been the only Black female, Black woman in that space. And when I go places with my diverse friends, oftentimes I'm one of few, but I've grown comfort in understanding how to position myself to know when it's safe and when it's not. But you have to build that authority, that agency, knowing when to speak up, knowing when it's no longer safe for you to be there. So about that room, one, it requires a lot of energy and effort. Two, this room may not always be emotionally safe. And when we talk about emotional or psychological safety, we have to talk about the emotional intelligence that comes along with it. So, are the spaces you're in, do they allow you to make mistakes? Are you allowed to have a difference or a shared opinion? Do you feel like you can regulate yourself and that person can regulate themselves if there are disagreements? The emotional intelligence part is being able to regulate yourself, your emotions, and how you navigate. The psychological safety part is, do you feel like you can be so damn human in those spaces where no one is expecting perfection from you? You can show up as your authentic identity and self within that emotional environment. Number three, we're talking about the room that you may be one of few or the only one in. Number three, as I alluded to, does it allow you to make mistakes? As a Black woman who is often one or few or the only one in many of the spaces I occupy, at some point along my career, I developed this sense that I couldn't make mistakes. And research shows, conversations show, and reveal that Black women are scrutinized or held under a different microscope than their counterparts of perhaps a white woman. So it is important that we realize we can make mistakes. We can. A lot of times we carry past traumas, past unhealthy experiences, and they may be happening now too, unpleasant experiences, or even just the uncertainty of new roles. Can I show up and contribute? Because in the past, I wasn't always to do that. And what I am sharing with you all, it applies across industries. It's not just those of us in the mental health field or the service professions, but outside of our industries, sometimes people can't put their finger on it because they're not using language that illuminates or magnifies a person's behaviors, whether they're aggressive. I call them macroaggressions. The common term is microaggressive or microaggressions. Are you not allowed to make those mistakes? Are you not giving credit or a credibility when you are contributing? That sounds very familiar across industry. So this isn't just mental health. Number four, these rooms pressure you to self edit or code switching. When you're editing who you are, what you believe in, your morals, your values, just to say you fit and you want to stay at that table. I get it. That table is your bread. That table is your livelihood. If you're anything like me, I'm my primary and backup plan. So I get it, how to navigate in those spaces. But here's the thing: if you're unsure of how to navigate those spaces, that is why I need you. If you're a Black woman who identify as, let me start over. If you're a woman who identifies as Black, African American, or of the African diaspora, I need you in that space. Many of us have spent most of our career trying to figure out, how do I navigate in this space and not self edit, not code switch. I'm a firm believer that self editing and code switching to create a sense of belonging, that's not survival. That's a trauma response that you have developed from being in so many environments where you have lost sight of who you are. So, I need you all to register. You can head to spaceforsisters.com/stress to secured, or go to the link in any of my bios. And if you are not someone who fits those characteristics, guarantee and I bet you know someone who could use guidance, who could use some strategizing, who is interested in hearing from four dynamic panelists from multiple industries, all the way from legal. to all the way from a mental health clinician, someone who has perfected the art of storytelling to help you get out of that self editing and show up as your high frequency true self. And then you have someone who has paved ways in the educational industry, who has navigated tough, tough spaces. That's going to be our panel. But if that sounds like you could benefit from that, if that sounds like you are interested in being seen, supported, and psychologically safe, you're invited. You can come to the barbecue. So I want to share a few more things of how that room can look to you and feel to you. Many women I've come in contact with, Black women, have described leaving this room as defeated. I want to invite you to take this perspective. You don't need anyone's permission to have self worth or to have value. We have got to stop looking into and looking at other people as though they need to give us that. You don't have to like me in that space. You don't have to value me, but we want to get to the point where we will be respected. That starts from day one. This is why that code switching and that self editing is so, so dangerous because when we start doing that, we are now teaching people that we're okay with how they treat me, how they talk to me. They're used to the self edited version because we've lost sight of who our real self is in those spaces. That's why it's important that we cultivate spaces as grown women to learn, to grow, to nurture each other. It's taken me almost 16 years to get to the point where I no longer expect or look for people to value me, but you will respect me. And yes, I have developed many opportunities, many pathways to where I can bounce out of a lot of those spaces. And I have. There is a difference of being an advocate and showing up for people whose voices have been toned down. I always say I don't give people their voice. I'm not going to help you find your voice. I'm looking to advocate and create spaces where you can elevate your voice. Okay. When we think about this room can trick you to think that this is not an opportunity. You heard me. Even within how we have come out of those rooms defeated, burnt out, overwhelmed, when we take a step back and do an eagle eyed view to what opportunities can I grab from this space? What relationships can I build from this space? How can I change the status quo and create a paradigm shift? A paradigm shift, in the most simplest form, is an extreme change or altering of something. Perhaps it takes you to create those changes in those spaces. I'm on a number of boards, I'm on a number of committees. And here's the thing, you invited me. You know how I'm going to show up. And here's the thing, me showing up isn't to turn tables and flip chairs. It's me to operate in my best self, my most comfortable self, and my safest self without self editing and to offer different perspectives. But I don't go along with the status quo. I have grown very comfortable. I teach my clients how to grow comfortable with calling behaviors out. And here's the thing, as a Black woman, oftentimes we believe that we're a token. When we get invited to certain spaces, we're the token. If you act like the token, you will be the token. Just because we're invited, we're not naive to people's agendas, but also where is the opportunity of being at tables? And if you don't feel good, and people say it all the time, take a step back and build your own table. But we have to learn how to navigate in those spaces because people have resources we need. And as I said, many of us can't always walk away. It's our bread, it's our butter, and it's our livelihood. Lastly, as you explore, or if you're unsure, come to the challenge. But as you explore how you can unpack, discover, search for the opportunities in those spaces where you are few or the only one, this can be your catalyst to pivot. It took me burning out several times, not nearly burning out. Those were other places, but officially burning out in places where I was a few. I won't even say, yeah, I was the only one rather than a few. I had to go through sexual harassment. And I say had to because I was in that position where I'm like, okay, I got to pay off my student loans. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to pay this. And so I succumb myself. I expose myself to repeated instances of trauma and abuse. As my speaking coach teaches, let's start at the top and not the bottom. And I want the same thing for you as you elevate your voices and discover how can you use these opportunities to pivot. Allow them to be the catalyst of your pivot. I'm a firm believer, if these spaces are not safe for you, be working on your exit plan. Be smart about it. Seek counsel, seek coaching to get the guidance in how to do that. So it took me having to experience sexual harassment. I went to HR, who was a Black woman. She said, sis, you got to play the game better. Be careful of making those accusations against, in that instance, it was a white guy. Be careful about making those accusations. They could really come back and harm you. Oh, y'all talk about somebody that was like, well, who else can I go to? So all of those things happen. And to wrap up that story, it got to the point where I left that company, went somewhere else, they cleaned house, and then brought me back and they pitched a good package. I was like, "Oh, I'm about to experience none of that crap I went through before." But to get in the room, I didn't ask enough questions and I rushed. The opportunity sounded so great. So be mindful of what sounds good. Ask more questions. In my line of work as a therapist, I pride myself in learning how and facilitating the art of asking good questions, or better questions, I should say. And so the outcome of that experience of working for that corporate company is I ended up settling a lawsuit for harassment and discrimination. I documented my experiences for 6 years. I didn't have to think what I would eventually put in that lawsuit. I didn't have to think who said what when they said it. At Stress to Secured, we're going to be exploring how to position yourself in the event that you are faced with unpleasant circumstances, but not just that, but how to position yourself to check in, to monitor, to prevent the stress from getting to a point where you end up in a lawsuit, where you are burning out. We're starting at the top and not the bottom of pivoting towards better self care, better stress management. So, as you conceptualize what that room is, I just went through 7 things or 7 ways of how you could leave those rooms, you could leave that room experiencing those things, but also how you can use that opportunity as a catalyst to pivot, maybe open your business, write the book, write the story, and everything else you may need to find better harmony and not give it your all. I'm a firm believer. People get the energy and proximity to me when it's deserving. I'm not going to give you any more, but I'm not going to give you any less. Okay. Don't wrestle with it. Lean into it. Release it. If you found this information valuable and you like, oh man, she talking to me, I could really, really use, some support. My last ploy. Join us at Stress to Secured. All the information is in the links in my bios. It is a 3-day wellness challenge for Black women who are of the few or only one in the room. Day one, we will have a conversation with our panelists. As I told y'all, they are powerhouses. When I invited the guests, I said, I know who needs to be on that panel because, whoo, I have learned so much from all of them. Day two, we will be doing on the spot strategy coaching sessions, very brief ones to give you the snapshot of maybe some fast action things you can do so that you can find better harmony in managing your stress, but also preventing yourself from burning out. That's day 2. Day 3, we will take what we've gained and we will do some action and accountability on day 3. So, in the meantime, I invite you all to share this live, tag a few people who y'all know need the support today, today, today. And if you are that Black woman I'm talking to, go ahead and join our free Facebook group where we will be doing a lot of interesting activities, a lot of helpful activities, a lot of intentional activities. So I invite you to register, links in my bios, or you can head to spaceforsisters.com/stress to secured. So thank you all for jumping on. I see some comments here. I will go back and reply to your comments. So, actually, I'll reply to a few now. Yes, it is a free event. So this is my challenge from Space for Sisters. It's the first one of the year. I'll be doing one a quarter based on different topics that I know that's impeding our community. So it is free. Yes, you can. I want the other people to register versus you registering for multiple people, which you can't do because it's per email, but just have them register and you will automatically get an email with a welcome package. Remember, we start this Wednesday. So you'll get your email. You will have your attendee badges. So if you're out there and you've already registered, check your email for your attendee badges, which you can add your picture and, showboat that you're going, but also to encourage other people, as well as your profile picture frames. So, yes, the question is, do I have to come or do, do I have to come through to all 3 days? I really want to, but I have to work. Once you register, you will be registered for all 3 days. Show up when you can. Show up when you can. I will be grateful to see you, and we will be thankful to just have you in the space with us. So if you register for one, the beginning, you're going to automatically get registered for all 3. So, is this appropriate for girls? Um, I would say teen girls, mature teen girls, but actually, I would prefer that it's all women right now. And I am working on a program for teen girls. So be on the lookout for that. I'm really, really excited about that. And so I would say, perhaps just adult women, because we just don't know what will come out of it. And as I said, being one of few or the only one can show up in your relationships because who knows what might come up with that at work, at church, in your community, at your school. So just being mindful of the space. We don't want to be filtered or scripted. And so let's hold off on inviting any teens. And I'll be working on something special for them, probably Q2 or 3. Any more questions? So thank you for acknowledging my birthday pictures and yeah, totally have fun. So thank you with that. So I really appreciate it. So that's all I have for y'all. Y'all can hear my voice is still recovering. So as I asked, please go ahead and share this live with someone or share it on your socials. I'd be more than grateful. So you all have a great night, and I look forward to seeing whoever is registered on Wednesday. And I'm gonna show back up tomorrow to remind y'all to come register. So y'all have a great night. Thank you so much for jumping on with me. Bye.